So we're just going to start right now. And so this morning, rather than featuring a destination, I am going to be featuring news. And my guest is my friend, Yvonne Campbell from YVONNE'S Travels. Did I get that right, Yvonne? YVONNE'S
Yes,
Travel?
that is
Yes.
yes.
And we both love talking about travel. As you can see, I'm reporting from home, and I see Yvonne is channeling something.
I am. Lisa, I'm channeling the warmth and the ocean breezes and everything you can think of from the beautiful beach from the Crane Resort in Barbados.
Oh gosh, it looks very inviting. So the focus we're going to take along with presenting the latest news is now's the time to daydream.
Right.
You may not be traveling, you may not have any desire to go away right now, but don't shelve your dreams.
Not at all.
So that's just going to be the focus. We're daydreaming now. And I am going to go back to sharing my screen. And Yvonne and I worked on a presentation. And let's just see. So here it goes. Travel updates. Just a little background. This is an old picture. I had the awesome opportunity to take a helicopter ride over Barcelona.
Nice.
So that's what you're looking at there. That is Barcelona. Loved it. So obviously, key, front of mind, the coronavirus. That's out there and that's impeding almost every facet of our life. Travel just being one area. So latest, it came out as of Thursday. For any Canadians returning home, they have to have a negative PCR test. And that's caused a lot of confusion for some people. It's like, how am I going to get this test? Well, that's where your travel agent comes in. Hopefully you'll be able to reach out to she or he and he'll help you get that squared away. And basically, as effective Thursday or 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, air travelers over the age of 5 who are eligible to come into Canada are required to produce a negative PCR test, which has to be collected within 72 hours of departure. And that's caused a lot of trouble for some travelers. Some of them are having a hard time determining where they're going to get this test. Some of them did not count on having to come up with the cost of these tests. These tests are running anywhere from $30 to $300 US in destination. And they have to come from appropriate sources. These tests have to be able to demonstrate the traveler's full name, their date of birth, the name and address of the lab or the testing facility, and how was the specimen collected? Was it a PCR? Was it a LAMP? That this all has to be evident. And it's something you're going to have to produce at the airport. And this is in addition to our original 14-day quarantine. It's not in place of. So, and they're getting very, very strict with the 14-day quarantine, and they are looking at actually rolling out more of the fines. Still, when entering Canada, you got to isolate for 14 days if you have COVID-19. If not, you have to quarantine for 14 days, and you have to comply. A little bit of background, you'll find this on the government website. Excellent site to go to, Canada.ca has all the information you're going to need. Consequences, if you don't comply with this emergency order, could lead to fines or imprisonment. And your negative PCR test, it'll be either written or it can be electronic. And as I mentioned, it has to be from an accredited source. And these sources have to be accredited by external organizations. They can't just be pop-ups and saying they're doing it. It has to be something like the government or a professional lab within the country from which the traveler is flying from. And you're going to have to produce this to get on the plane. You can and will be denied boarding. And there are some exceptions.
If I could just interject, if I could just say quickly, Lisa, that has been happening already, because I have been reading on different forums, Facebook pages that I'm associated with, as well as hearing chatter that people are actually being denied boarding to come back to Canada. And the airlines are strictly abiding to that. So this is another consideration that travelers do have to take into to think about before leaving the country, that, you know, am I going to have a place to get this test booked before returning? And also in some of the countries, they are overrun right now because they weren't expecting this announcement. So it's like, to say it's chaos right now is putting it very, very mildly.
Yes, yes. I read of one country, and I don't have the news source, so I don't want to quote it, but I heard of one country where they have no more tests available. And at the moment, they'll get them, but at the moment they do not have any. So now you're looking at having to rearrange your flights. Hopefully you have an agent down there that you're reaching out to back home, because I can only imagine how stressful this must be on site, that all of a sudden you have to come up with this this test, and you're having to source it in a foreign country. So
yeah.
And that could be unnerving. And it's just a little bit more about the PCR test. Another thing is that those that are exempt. 5 years of age, emergency personnel, those working for the airlines that actually have to fly back and forth, and those on refueling. And then we have, this was an interesting story, very, very interesting story. This young lady traveled to Barbados. Miss Sarah Holland, she went with her boyfriend, Elliot Love. And they had to have a negative test to get in. And then upon arrival, you are tested again in Barbados, and then you have to wait out a specified quarantine period. What had happened is it was determined that Mr. Love was positive for COVID-19. So not wanting to be ill in Barbados, they decided, well, it's time we go home. Unfortunately, they took matters into their own hands. They cut off the wristbands that were placed on them by the government, for their quarantine period. They cut off the wristbands, and they were arrested at the airport. And last I heard, Miss Holland, I don't know her status right now, but last I heard, photos were taken of her sunning herself on the balcony of the hotel. She's back at the hotel because she's negative. And Mr. Love is quarantining. He's in isolation at the Paragon Isolation Center in Barbados. And so it was witnessed that they left the property. Same thing happened with Skylar Mack. In this case, an American college student who was told to remain in isolation for 2 weeks, not quite as long as in Barbados. And she had to wait, and her boyfriend was participating in a jet ski match, and she really wanted to go. And so what does any good girlfriend do? She just leaves. She goes, and they see that. What are you doing? And she was facing 4 months in prison in the Cayman Islands. And lucky Skylar, it's been reduced to 2 months, so less time. But that's the problem. And what we have here, we went too fast. IATA. And travel agents, we deal with IATA all the time, International Air Transportation Association, and they're very hands-on on all aspects of travel. And one of the things they're talking about is the IATA pass, which will be a digital pass on your phone. And they can see in the foreseeable future this being required to board some flights. Certain airlines around the world, not necessarily in North America, but other airlines are talking about vaccine requirements.
Which is going to be very interesting.
It will be very interesting. We'll get to that when I get to the one airline that's seriously talking about it. IATA got, is global standardization, and they're wonderful. And if you went to their website, you would just see a bit about what they do. I won't bore you with reading it all, but they do a lot. And this, the health requirements powered by IATA, Timiac? Anyways, this is what you'll get. And you can look at it, and you can look before you go. So this isn't really quite a government website. This is more like an organization, and you can use the drop down, and you can put in wherever you're going, and you can get all your information. And it's very timely. I took this screenshot yesterday. So the IATA Travel Center, a whole host of information. So should you be traveling in the future, and you're not using a travel agent, by all means, which you should be, but if you're not, make sure you check out sites such as this. You don't want to be blindsided when you're in destination. One of the things they have is this interactive map. And when you're in the live version, if you roll over it, it'll give you information on all sorts of destinations. And to what you were saying, Yvonne, can I get a test in destination? It is a very fluid situation, as you were saying.
Yeah.
People are finding not.
So are people getting stuck where they were and they're not able to board a plane? So you're supposed to get tested prior to leaving and upon return to Canada?
Yes.
Absolutely, Stacy. You're supposed to be tested within 72 hours of your departure time.
So people also have to pay for this. A friend of mine had to go at the last minute to the United States, and he said it cost him $250 to get a last minute test because he had to board immediately, basically within 24 hours. To get the results. So people are going to have to allot, depending on the country, extra funds. It could be up to $500 more for this.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing, Stacy. And as I had mentioned to Lisa before, instances that I'm hearing of right now where people they're stuck because now you've checked out of your resort, right? And you're at the airport. And I think it was about 30 passengers that they got denied because they didn't have the test. They checked out the resort, and there isn't another flight from that destination until Sunday coming. So can you imagine now that's added expense?
Yes.
Right?
Wow.
A
So
lot of
really
added expense.
They're going to have to do their research and think twice before, I know we want to get away, but definitely think twice.
So the young woman who was incarcerated for just getting on a plane and showing up, she was positive for COVID-19?
Her boyfriend was positive for COVID-19, but she breached the quarantine protocols in Barbados. And
wow.
It's when they arrested the couple for breaching the protocols that they also determined not only was there that infraction, but in addition, Mr. Love had tested positive for COVID-19, which is why they were making a hasty exit back to Britain.
Wow.
Right.
And they were positive doing it. So they would have infected everyone on the plane. You know what? I'm just going to say this. I'm grateful for the government in Barbados for doing that, because there's been a lot of people that don't abide by the protocol when they come into Canada and they go out grocery shopping and all kinds of things. And I believe that's causing a lot of issues with the spreading.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah. And then this was, I'm sure some of our American friends would be going, what? But, you know, this story about the CRSB, the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefits, the government of Canada has been, we've always had employment insurance for those that have lost their jobs, but this has been extenuating circumstances and not everyone has qualified for employment benefits. So they've come out with some emergency measures. And we had something that was called the CERB, Canada Emergency Response Benefit, that has since concluded, and now we have a new program. And there's a loophole, and it's funny, but not at all. Some people have been in their minds have been saying, well, you know, you want me to quarantine for 2 weeks when I come back, and I can't go into work, so I'm going to apply for that $500 a week benefit under the guise that they're sick. But the government has now put a halt to this. But quarantining following non-essential travel, it doesn't qualify. And so that's in the news too. That's been very big news in Canada this week.
That was very interesting. I wasn't even aware of that, to be honest.
You weren't? Oh my gosh, no! I've got I've always got the Canadian news running in the background, checking on it from time to time, and I get the alerts. And I saw that one, and I thought, oh, aren't they industrious?
No, well, no, I knew of the benefit that it was available, the sick benefit that was available. But the part about travelers who were quarantining using it
Oh yes,
as a thing, that's
This is very important information
yes,
that people need to know. So for instance, my dream is, you know, to go to Kenya this year, for instance. So if I'm not vaccinated, that's an issue. So if I'm vaccinated, I guess going forward, we'll find out if you still will have to quarantine or you will be exempt from doing, you know, having to quarantine if you have been vaccinated. That would save a lot of expenses. Also, not only are you paying for the vaccination, for the testing before and after, when you're returning back to your original destination that you came from, so Toronto, you'll also have to be setting aside 2 weeks funds because the government's not going to obviously give you anything towards that. So
yeah.
And it's very interesting, Stacey, because I was just when this announcement came out about being vaccinated or being tested upon return, one of the tour operators that does a lot of the tours to Africa and other places like that, their concern were that these people or these guests, they're on an excursion or they're on a tour as you think, right? You're out and you're nowhere near anywhere that you can go and get a test done. So if you're on these trips, how are these people going
that's
to
true.
get, because let's say you're doing an African safari, for example, where out there are you going to be able to get this test done after finishing your safari? Ideally, most people are looking to board and come back. So
You'll
it's
have to
not
make
going to
sure
be as
you have
easy as
2
that.
nights, 2 or 3 days in, depending on how long it takes you to get your test results as well.
Exactly.
You're
Yeah.
going to have to lot, say, to be in one of the main towns, the main
Mhm.
cities.
Right.
You
Mhm.
have to be paying for that extra expense.
Right. So this is the curve that it has thrown now to these tour operators that they are going to have to somehow be able to have research and have this kind of thing ready for their guests.
Absolutely. And some of the providers are looking into that right now. Some of the providers that are going to the Caribbean were looking at opportunities of bringing the tests to the hotel. Let's say you're a guest of, ABC Tours or something, and you flew down on you're there on one of their packages. They're looking at everyone showing up at the lobby within 72 hours of the scheduled flight coming home. Some of the tour operators are looking at that now. So in the industry, we've got basically two types. You've got FIT, fully independent travel, and others are packages. If you're on a package, then hopefully your tour operator will be doing like you said, Yvonne. But if you're on a fully independent travel, FIT, you're on your own.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're on, and a lot of people do FIT, which, like anything following COVID-19, there may be a slight shift. I know one of my upcoming travel chat talks will be on small groups. And if anyone wants to dream about travel, that's probably where travel's going to go to. It's people have been calling it create your own bubble. And
Right.
so you're just going with a very discrete, small
Yeah.
number of people. Now to this slide. I just thought two things came to mind. First, I thought, isn't that funny? They use the word 2-week pilot when they're talking about free Wi-Fi on a flight. I thought that's cute. But it's only for 2 weeks, and it's for American routes. Delta does come up, to Canada, but they're talking about US routes, and people are going to be able to surf free of charge. You're not going to be able to stream, so you're not going to be able to catch up on your HBO or your Netflix and stuff like that. But you'll be able to go on to Amazon, buy something. My concern was, and I was looking to see, I wonder if you can get onto WhatsApp and doing phone calls, because we all know how much fun it is in the good old days when the shopping malls were full and you're standing in line to pay for something and someone's on their phone on speakerphone having a conversation. I wonder if that's going to be what's going to be coming to an airline near you, where everyone's going to, the person's going to be shouting too loud on their telephone having a conversation.
I hope not. I really hope not.
That was the first thing I had, because you don't get people getting on their phone and going, "Hi, I'm on an airplane. I can't talk too loud." It's sort of like they want everyone to know they're on their phone. Or if you've ever been on the metros in Europe, I don't see people talking, but I see people surfing. So hopefully it'll be like that. And I honestly don't recall what my next slide is. I'm going to have to look. Lockdown. I was going to order these a little differently, but there was just so much news and there was just so much I was going through that I didn't have time to rearrange. So I apologize. I'm jumping a little here. England has joined the ranks of the rest of Great Britain, and they are now, as we all know, in a lockdown, and that one is going until mid-February. All non-essential businesses, retailers, are facing these new rules, and you're restricted to basically, you want to go to the grocery store, medical appointment. If you're a caregiver, you're looking after the elderly, the infirm. Outdoor exercise is very limited. I think you're allowed to, if you have a dog, to go within, let's say, a kilometer of your residence to walk your dog. And hotels and B&Bs are still open, but they're basically only there to serve people that need those services for their essential services that they're providing. And schools have been closed for most students. I think those that work like in the hospitals and in care, I think the schools are open for their children. I'm not 100% on that, but I don't think it's affecting anyone here right now. And I'd be more than happy to look into that if anyone had any concerns. Now, Yvonne, this is what we were chatting about. Are you going to need a vaccine to fly?
Lisa, to be honest, it's interesting because I think maybe the European side of the world probably is going to say that. We don't know. So
right.
It's something that I'm hoping they don't, it's not going to be a compulsory thing, because we know as well that there are a lot of people that don't believe in doing so. So it's going to be interesting to see how that approach is taken.
Right. Now, I know Qantas, I think they're opening up their bookings for July of this year, and they're looking to specific regions. I think like one of them is they might be going to South Africa in July. They might be going to Saudi Arabia. Right now, there are limited flights between Australia and New Zealand. But they are seriously looking at the requirement to have proof of vaccination in order to fly. So is one of the Korean airlines. There are other airlines, again, I'm not hearing this from North America, but I'm hearing this from airlines overseas. And it was interesting in an article, a Newsweek article with, everyone's familiar with Dr. Anthony Fauci in the US. And basically, he said everything's going to be on the table for discussion when asked if the vaccine passports will become mandatory. And that speaks back to the much earlier slide with IATA, where they'll be coming out with this documentation with your COVID-19 history. And I believe this is my last slide. I apologize for it being a little blurry. It is a wonderfully interactive slide. It's from the Johns Hopkins University. And it is phenomenal. And if you want to find anything about countries, these are links. You can click on all of this. You can scroll. There's just so much on this map. And basically, I will stop my share, and that's that. No,
that was amazing, Lisa. A lot of great information that you can take away and investigate further if you need to get additional information, or as to your point, contact your travel agent, or your travel counselor, whoever you deal with, to get the information. But my thing would be, what I would be suggesting to people is, before booking, is getting some advice from someone. I know that our human instinct is, oh, I want to do this myself. I want to, go ahead and book this thing myself. But now, since COVID, we have to be so much more careful now, because there's so many other things that take into effect, right? So you don't just want to go ahead and book online and then end up going to, for example, let's say a resort that's not COVID certified, right? Mm-hmm. And you need to know that.
Right. As Yvonne is well aware of, whether you book it yourself, if you're going to book a package, go online, or you're going to book it through someone like Yvonne, myself, or your travel consultant in your neighborhood, you're going to pay the same amount to book it through that source. So if you really like to do FIT, fully independent travel, and there's something you really want to do, I suggest do your research, look it up, and then take it to your travel consultant, your local travel consultant, and say, here, this is what I want. This is what I want to get done. This is what I want to accomplish. Can you book it for me?
That will give you that added peace of mind, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And you're not alone. I agree.
Right.
Because I'm used to booking online, generally speaking, and I love searching for a deal, but the reality is it is going to be the same price. And sometimes a travel agent's going to find you a better price because they have privy to bulk discounts sometimes. And also you have someone that you trust if you're in a predicament that is there to guide you and help you.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite lines is, nobody knows what's in my inbox this morning. Who has reached out to me? Who has your local travel consultant made a connection with that is now reaching out to them, within the industry? So I have a lot of people that I know. It's been an interesting year because I typically go out to all the all the events that I know of so I can make a face-to-face meeting. We've been having to do it over Zoom, as has everyone else. But, you know, it's still, we like to make our presence known. People in the industry know me, they know Yvonne. And when they have information they want to convey, they send it to us. And then we're now in a position, Yvonne and myself, to be able to share it with people. And
well, you're two of the most informed travel agents. I mean, you're both very, very good at what you do. And so if anyone needs guidance, that's the way to go, especially during this time. I think it's really essential to use a travel agent that is just very, sorry, I haven't had my coffee yet today. I'm just kind of like, I'm looking for those words, honestly. It's very experienced. And I know, Lisa, like you're very well traveled. So you have a lot of connections. You're very astute at what you do, and you really do your research, and you're really on top of your game. So if people need information, that's, you know, you're a very big source for that.
Why, thank you. I just want to say that while I love the Caribbean and cruising, my personal is adventure and anything I haven't done yet. And Yvonne, your area of focus is?
Destination weddings and honeymoons.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, if you know of someone, you know, you're not going to go to someone who loves to do, I mean, I don't know what kind of travel. Let's just say purely expedition travel.
Yeah.
If their forte, they could help you with a wedding, but you'd want to go to someone like Yvonne.
Absolutely. You absolutely need that.
Where her focus is. And so oftentimes, you know, sometimes you like to guide people elsewhere. And just the way we like to guide people elsewhere, you can't be expected to be able to do it all on your own. Don't say don't do the research, but do the research and share it with a travel consultant.
Yep.
Well, if
Absolutely.
Yvonne, that's what you deal with. I mean, that's a lot of planning. So you really want to go with someone who knows what they're doing. You would never even remotely think of booking anything like that on your own. It would be just chaos.
It can get to be a nightmare, Stacey, to be honest. And
I'm sure. And you must have patience of steel because I mean, honestly, what you must hear and have to deal with and the requests. So yeah.
But it boils down to, once you have your contacts that you deal with at destination, it becomes fairly easy. So, you know, I've read of people who, you know, oh, I can't get in touch with the resort, nobody's answering me, and, you know, they say all these things, and I'm like, okay, but I don't have that problem. I send an email and I get a response within 24 hours. So, you know, it's just one of those things.
That's
well,
right.
They're used to dealing with you, you know, on a continuous basis. So you have a rapport with the hotel and the manager and everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. But, you know, all that aside, I really, after the year that we've had in travel, anyone and everyone who would listen, to Lisa's point, yes, we are independent. Yes, we love to do our own researches. You know, kudos. Go ahead, do that, because sometimes you're going to find something that we may not even know is there. Because I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't know everything that there is about the Caribbean. I'm still learning each and every day. But if you come to me and say, you know what, Yvonne, there is this place here that I'd love to visit. They've got this, they've got that. Absolutely. I'm going to check it out for you, right? But to book it on your own, and then something like COVID hits, you're all by yourself with no one to reach out to.
Case in point, I was in Jamaica and we were touring all these fabulous properties. And it was my first time ever encountering a Chris Blackwell property. And because one of my colleagues was a huge James Bond fan.
Right.
So he just had to go see Ian Fleming's estate. And he was in seventh heaven. And I went along with him. And myself and another travel agent, there was only the three of us. And we had an exclusive tour of GoldenEye. That is not on the map for most people. Most
No, it
people, when
isn't.
they go to Jamaica, they're not thinking of GoldenEye. But if you have someone that wants something that's different, that's spectacular, had I not known about GoldenEye, I know about all these his various resorts now, but we have contacts. Yvonne and I have contacts. We would have gotten on the keyboard, fired off a very quick email to the Jamaica Tourist Board, who have an office here in Toronto, and we would say, we've got a client that's looking for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
What properties do you have? And they're not representing any one property. They're a government organization. They're representing the island.
Island, yeah.
They're
So,
going to
yeah, the
come
tourist
up with a
boards.
list of
Yeah.
everything that hits my client's marks.
Yeah, all the tourist
we
boards
do.
do that. Yeah, the tourist boards, they all do that. You know, your Barbados, your Grenada,
Absolutely.
your Antigua, you know, they all do that, and we contact them for help.
That's
Right.
right. That's right. Because we go down, we inspect all the various sites on various islands, do that all the time. We love it. But it's also fact finding. It's fact finding.
Yeah.
So we can tell people what to expect. I've been at some 3 stars in Jamaica, and I said to them, I'm really glad you put me up in that hotel when I was touring the island. And they thought I was kidding. And I said, no, absolutely not. I had a wonderful time. And for people that come to me and say, this is what I have, but this is my price point, I can tell them from personal experience, how about this property?
Exactly.
And we make connections across the globe. I have many European connections as well, various tourist boards, that if I say someone is looking for something specific, this is it. And also, if I say, someone is looking for this, is this open now? Or when do you anticipate this being open in the era of COVID? They will get back to me with what are the latest events and what's happening in that destination.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, you might not see it on the news, but your travel agent can reach out to the appropriate parties and get that for you. So that was just a snapshot of what's been showing up in my inbox and Yvonne's inbox this week. And Stacy, I'm so glad you could join us live, and I'm sure a few others are going to check this out after the fact.
I think it's very important information. So I posted it on my Facebook, but I'm going to edit and say that it's very important that people watch this video.
Why, thank you. And Yvonne, I hope you join me again. This has been so much fun.
You know what, Lisa, thank you so very much. I really did enjoy it. And yes, I look forward to doing your next one whenever it comes on.
And then next time you'll take us to another beach in your background.
I will. I promise.
Oh, dream.
We want to dream. This one is so beautiful, but we just want to see more.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Barbados
this is the
yet.
pink sand, eh? That's
Yeah.
pink sand, right? So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
heavenly.
Have a lovely day, and I'll say bye to everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all your time. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.